An engineer joins a team, and their access is provisioned correctly for their role. 6 months later, they are promoted. New permissions are added for the new position. The previous permissions are not reviewed for removal. There is no systematic process triggered by that event, and the investigation required to determine which old permissions are still relevant takes time. Nobody budgets for a role change. A year after that, they move to a different team. The cycle repeats. 3 years in, the engineer holds the combined access of every role they have ever occupied, plus every exception granted during production incidents that were never formally closed, plus access to systems their previous teams depended on that no longer appear anywhere in their current job description. No permission in that set was granted without a reason. Every grant was individually correct at the time it was made. The accumulation was not designed. It is the natural output of an identity lifecycle process built around 2 events, joining and leaving, that has no systematic mechanism for what happens between them. Most organizations believe that a correctly deployed permission system stays correctly deployed. The belief is intuitive. The permission state was reviewed at deployment. Nobody has explicitly changed it. But the system it governs has changed. Personnel, services, dependencies, workflows, and every one of those changes produces a divergence between the intended permission state and the actual one. That divergence accumulates continuously. It requires no mistakes. This is permission drift. It is not a failure mode that affects poorly managed environments. It is the default trajectory of any permission system operating inside a real organization. The forces that produce it are structural, and they operate in one direction. Call it the permission ratchet. Adding a permission takes seconds. Removing one takes investigation. Before a permission can safely be removed, someone must understand what depends on it, which services call it, which workflows require it, which users have built processes around it. That investigation takes time. If the investigation is incomplete and the permission is removed, something breaks. The cost of a wrong removal is immediate and visible. The cost of leaving an unnecessary permission in place is deferred and invisible. This asymmetry means that permissions accumulate by default and reduce only through deliberate, resourced effort. Every operational event that adds access clicks the ratchet forward. Almost nothing clicks it back. Over time, the permission state of a real environment drifts away from its intended state as a function of organizational activity, not as a function of anyone's failures. 3 mechanisms drive this drift in every real environment. The mover problem is the most consistent. Identity governance programs are built around 2 lifecycle events: provisioning at hire and revocation at departure. Employees who change roles while remaining at the organization fall outside this model. They are not new users requiring full provisioning. They are not departing users requiring full revocation. They receive additive access for their new role, with no systematic trigger to evaluate what the previous role contributed that is no longer required. Unit 42's analysis of more than 680,000 identities across real enterprise environments found that 99% held excessive permissions. The mover problem is the mechanism by which that number accumulates without anyone intending it. Exception accumulation is the second mechanism. A developer needs temporary elevated access to debug a production incident at 2 a.m. A vendor needs access to a specific resource to complete an integration by Friday. A migration script needs to call an API. It will only use once. In each case, the access is granted because the need is real and immediate. Removing it when the need ends requires knowing when the need has ended, which requires tracking the original reason, the expected duration, and the current status of the underlying task. In environments managing dozens or hundreds of active exceptions simultaneously, that tracking is partial at best. The temporary access becomes permanent not through any decision, but through the absence of a process to reverse it. The third mechanism is system evolution without permission evolution. Services change function. APIs are deprecated. Dependencies are removed. Resources are repurposed. Each of these transitions leaves a permission set configured for the service's previous function that no longer matches its current one. Permissions do not update automatically. They require someone to notice the change, assess the permission delta, and act on it. In organizations where system change velocity is high and permission review cycles are quarterly, the gap between what a system does and what its permissions allow is structurally guaranteed. In June 2023, JumpCloud, an identity and access management provider, disclosed a breach attributed to Lazarus Group, the North Korean state-sponsored threat actor. The attackers gained initial access through spear phishing, then moved through JumpCloud's environment targeting customer accounts. In the post-incident investigation, JumpCloud identified API keys within their own infrastructure that had been active for extended periods without rotation or review, credentials whose lifecycle had never been managed against a systematic schedule. The attackers leveraged those persistent, ungoverned credentials as part of their movement through the environment. The irony is worth naming directly. An organization whose entire product is identity security was operating with its own credential lifecycle in a state of drift. This is not evidence of unusual negligence. It is evidence that permission drift is structural, that it finds its way into every organization with sufficient operational complexity, regardless of domain expertise, regardless of stated security posture. The 2025 Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report identifies privilege misuse as one of its top threat vectors. A 2025 identity governance survey found that 1 in 2 employees currently holds access rights they no longer need. These are not organizations that skipped access control. They are organizations whose access control operates correctly at the point of provisioning and drifts continuously at every point after. The question that matters for any environment is not whether the permissions were correct at deployment. That question has a historical answer. The question is what the current permission state actually is, measured against what it should be, and whether any process running today has visibility into the distance between them. In most organizations, that gap is neither measured nor mapped. It is assumed to be small because no one has looked.